Hello everyone, I'm Aruna Shields, and this video is about combining introspective, meditative, silent practice with working with a therapist or working on your own to figure out what's going on under the hood in the deeper psychological realms. So on the one hand, we have the transcendental realm, which we connect to in our stillness practice, where we move beyond the mind and the body to connect with something which is timeless and untouched by anything that's going on in the mind or in the body or in the environment. And on the other hand, we come back, we bring the stillness that we've connected to in our practice of meditation back into the psychological complex, into the body and the mind, and bringing them both together is very healing. It's like adding fertilizer to a plant. The plant can grow on its own just with water and sunlight, which is the transcendence. But if we add some other things, some other tools, some understanding of psychology, some understanding of the personality, some deeper understanding of how the subconscious works and the hidden realms of the personality and how it affects our relationship to ourselves and others, then that can help the plant grow stronger and quicker, faster. So that's a metaphor that may work for you. It's not either or, but I've found that in my own life and in other people's lives that I've seen have a greater level of integration, that's what's going on. And some people, it's different in different cultures. Maybe you don't have access to trained mental health professionals, but there is a lot of content on YouTube, and there are a lot of mental health professionals who offer guidance, and you can journal and you can figure out who resonates with you. And that's part of the reason why I set up this channel, is to offer a free resource to anyone who wants to understand these things. And people may be interested in the meditation, they may be interested in the psychology, or both. And so we're at an epic time in our human evolution where we have this available, and scientific research is going on in the realms of how meditation affects the mind and how we can better treat people who are suffering, who are traumatized. And so we know meditation has a positive effect, and we also know through research that certain psychotherapeutic techniques have an effect. So we're lucky to live now. So you've got to figure out what resonates with you, who resonates with you. Also, you can, if you want, look at the scientific research. And it's it's about, I guess, finding a stillness practice that you can do twice daily, ideally, that you don't have a resistance to doing. For me, that's the transcendental meditation. It first began as the mindfulness, and then it progressed to the transcendental meditation, and I've done other videos on that you can look at. That's like a bedrock, because that stillness practice connects you to a wider awareness. And then when that wider awareness puts its attention on aspects of the personality, aspects of the psychological structure, whatever you put your attention on, that charged, still attention on, kind of dissolves any kinks in the system. And we all have kinks in the system. Nobody takes a human body and is perfect. And that's really important. And I'll do another video on perfectionism. So just because you meditate doesn't mean that you won't have things going on in the personality that is maybe detrimental or not very evolutionary for yourself or others. So, and also doing a lot of stillness practice can pull out stress, and that can affect the personality. So that's also something to know. And then you have cognitive behavioral therapy, you have psychodynamic therapy, you have all these different modalities. I'm trained as a hypno-psychotherapist and a clinical mindfulness teacher. I'm also a meditation expert, quite eclectic. But no matter what the mental health professional is trained in, the stillness and the awareness that the mental professional has affects their modality. So if you have somebody who has a very expanded level of awareness and then they do cognitive behavioral therapy with someone, that will become more beneficial for the client who's receiving it. If you have a psychiatrist and they have an expanded level of awareness and they're treating you, you will have a better experience with treatment. If you see a hypnotherapist, so you can see where I'm going with this. So I would encourage mental health professionals to have stillness practices and to speak to people so that they were aware of any transference, because sometimes working with people, you can take on their emotions and then it can affect your own personality. And so I'll do another video on that. And so a lot of self-care is needed. And we're in the era now of self-care. We're in the era of healing of the planet. And it's not like the planet is here and we are separate from it. We feel whatever's going on in our environment, whether we're aware of it or not. And so when we set the intention to heal ourselves and use what nature's given us, and nature's given us meditation teachers, it's given us psychiatrists, it's given us psychotherapists, it's given us mental health professionals, it's given us somatic massage therapists. It's given us these people. They're not like separate from the stillness. They are infused with the stillness. And because they're infused with the stillness, they can help. And so if you're working as a mental health professional, it's good to take care of yourself. It's the only way you can help yourself in the world is by first taking care of your own inner environment, your own connection to a source greater than the mind, and then coming back and then having a greater understanding and really letting nature do the heavy lifting for you. Because whenever you connect to stillness and then you do your psychiatry, or connect to stillness and then do your somatic massage, or connect to stillness and then do your psychodynamic therapy, or whatever it might be, you don't have to make as much effort because you're supported by an intelligence within that stillness and it guides you, and you become more intuitive about what to say, what not to say, what might work for one person, what might not work for another person, maybe creative ways to solve problems within your field. And it's really just like pulling an arrow back. So another analogy is, if you have a bow and arrow and you want the arrow to hit the target, you first put the arrow in the bow and you pull the bow back. That's doing your stillness practice, cultivating a deeper awareness. And then when you let go, it has that supportive nature, it has that power behind it. And so therefore you get mahavakyas where a certain therapist will say something to you, and it might be cliched and you might have heard it a million times, but when that therapist or that partner, or it could be anyone who's done a stillness practice or has been connected to that intelligence, says something to you, it lands. Because it's not what's said, it's the place from which it's being said that creates the effect. So I've noticed this in my own life when I transitioned out of doing what I was primarily doing, which was the mindfulness-based meditation practice twice daily, to the transcendental meditation practice twice daily. I was guiding groups in Santa Monica at the time and getting great feedback. I had a big community of meditators used to come to my meditation classes. And then when I started my transcendental meditation practice, which goes even deeper, or for me, it definitely dissolved a lot more stress in my system, people would come up to me and say, "What's going on? I loved you before, but now you're different. You're more powerful. I'm getting better results in my meditation. Whatever they came in for, they had help with." And I knew what was going on because it was reflected in my own physiology. I could sense the difference working for me from transitioning from the mindfulness to the transcendental meditation. And so I was making no effort, but because I was going deeper, it made whatever I was doing in life more effective. I was more effective as a meditation teacher. I was more effective as a coach. And the trajectory of my career as a therapist changed too. And so that's really encouraging, that if we go inwards, even if there is initially some resistance to going inwards, we do definitely reap the rewards. So if you are having difficulty with meditation, don't give up. I had difficulty with the mindfulness actually for many years. It was not comfortable for me to do twice daily. And then I stuck with it, and then tried out different meditation techniques, found the TM worked for me, and boom, we're in business. And that's part of the reason this channel exists. Because I don't know whether I would have had the ability to do it without that meditation practice. And that's my journey. Other people's is going to be different. And so the meditation, and now all of these other techniques. Trained as a therapist and also had my own therapy during training. And there was a period where I thought I didn't need it, and that was incorrect. Because if you do get results with the meditation and it really starts to work, there can be a tendency for you to think, oh, I don't need to delve into those non-spiritual realms of psychology and psychotherapy. No. I don't need that. And that's where people trip up a lot of the time, because the personality can start de-stressing, because when you contact the stillness, there's an intelligence that wakes up in the body and it starts to pull out all of the stress from the system, and it starts to throw it out of your system, and it gets thrown out in the form sometimes of personality disturbances, of anxiety, of some kind of existential crisis, of nightmares, and it just goes on. Something good's happening, but also sometimes as you speed up on your spiritual journey using these powerful techniques that we now have available, it can cause some dysregulation. And you don't need to be on your own. You can reach out for support, whether it's online through these channels like mine or anybody else's, or, educating yourself through books, or going, if you have the opportunity and your insurance covers it, to find a really good therapist. And maybe you need to try a few out. And always notice how you feel after the sessions, because the therapists themselves are going through their own process. So you just need to check, how do I feel after I've been with this person? And do I feel supported? And I'll do another video on maybe helping people choose their therapists and what to look out for. And don't give up. You will find your right person. Even if you have to go through a few, you will find your meditation practice, even if you have to go through a few. You will find modalities of healing that work for you at maybe different points in time. And it doesn't have to just be one thing, like I'm just going to meditate, or I'm just going to see a psychiatrist, or it's not either or. And everybody's different. So I wish you well on your healing journey. And I'm really excited because when you start to discover hidden parts of yourself and you bring those hidden parts of yourself into the awareness, just your attention on them alone can resolve the conflict. And it does resolve over time. Just attention. Attention is so healing. Whatever you put your attention on in a non-judgmental, open and curious way is healing. So if you notice, I don't want to look at those things. Notice that. Oh, there's a part of me that doesn't want to look. And everybody embodied on the planet right now will have a tendency to not want to look at certain things because they're painful, because maybe it challenges the egoic structure, and that's painful. And we've had to construct a version of reality or a perception about ourselves to ease the discomfort. And underneath all that is a very wounded little child who couldn't make sense of the world, and the personality constructed a way of viewing itself so that it was less painful, and so the cortisol levels could be lower. But now the vibe is high enough for us to have the willingness to see what was previously unseeable. There was just no awareness to see it. The head was so stuck in the hand in denial, with no willingness to see. And now, through a lot of people meditating in the world, through the world healing, we have the ability to see what we didn't want to see before. And the reason we can do that is because we're now more than ever realizing we are beyond our body and mind. And if we're beyond our body and mind, whatever's going on in the mind is imperfect, and that's okay. We're okay. So if our thoughts are negative, or our perceptions are negative, or judgmental, or arrogant, or self-absorbed, that's okay, because we are beyond that ultimately, and we're starting to realize that. And some people more than others are realizing to have compassion for themselves is very healing. To have compassion for the personality. And the only way you can have compassion for the personality is if you realize yourself beyond the personality. Because otherwise, you are the personality, you are the thoughts, and then that's very, very hard, because it feels like you're attacking yourself when you're in therapy. And so what I've noticed with clients, I can make a lot more progress once people are able to separate their true identity from their thoughts and personality and body, because they're off the hook. You're off the hook. Doesn't matter whether you have narcissistic personality traits, whether you're borderline, you're diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, whether you have been diagnosed with autistic personality disorder, whether there's some sociopathy there. It doesn't matter, because of the separation. There's the sociopathy, there's the narcissism, there's all of these constructs which are constructed because of pain, because it's very painful to take a human body and to survive in the world when we forget who we are and our awareness is temporarily squished when we come into a body. And that's probably why we scream when we come out as a baby, because it's so painful, like having no body and then having a body. Oh, and now I have a mind, and now it's got thoughts, and now I have to please this person, otherwise I don't get fed, and I have to live up to people's expectations, and people are reacting to me in a different. It's so confusing being a human, that these these constructs, these personalities, and these tendencies and these disorders occur just as a way to try and survive. And so we can have really a deep level of compassion for ourselves if we notice the disorders and the coping mechanisms that we've had to construct. And therefore, we can also have compassion for the other people in the world that have done the same thing. And there's a whole cocktail there of people who've tried to survive having a human body, and some have got narcissism, and some have got BPD, and some, like, everybody's got their own response to stress, and that's all it really is, a response to stress. And so we don't need to attack people. They've already been attacked. Just by being in a body is an attack in a way. They don't then need to be shamed, or you're a narcissist, or you're a sociopath, or you're a psychopath, or there's something wrong with you. There is going to be something wrong with everybody that's taken a body. There's going to be something wrong with everybody that's taken a body. Because when you take a body, there's always going to be a certain level of ignorance in the system. Just by the nature of the perception of being an individual and separate, when actually that's not accurate. Only at a level of unity consciousness do you realize that's inaccurate. But in order to have an experience as Mark or Lisa or Mohammed or whoever you are, you have to kind of temporarily lose sight of your unboundedness. And then you regain it. And that's what the whole enlightenment process is. But it's very painful for everybody. It's very, very painful. And it can require, at least this time on earth, tools. It won't always be that way, but right now it requires certain tools to remember who you are and to heal from even just the confusion of having a body. And as we evolve as a human species, I think we'll be less confused. And we haven't been on the planet that long, really. There's other organisms that have been here way longer than us and seem to be a lot more peaceful than us. And so that it's exciting times. But we've been gifted tools. Nature always gives you what you need. And even if the mind's like, I don't need it, and I can do it on my own, or other people need it, but I don't need it, just notice that. Because nature gives you things to help. And if you think, oh, I can't trust those people, then notice that there is a lack of trust of humans. Of course. Humans are hurting, and humans have been hurting, and hurt people. So maybe there'd be a lack of trust being around humans. So just notice anything that's going on for you. Notice your feelings, notice your thoughts, journal. Because even the act of journaling itself, bringing that third person perspective, putting that attention on the wounding itself alone is healing. So I pray that we all connect with the people and the tools that we need on our spiritual journey, and a magical combination comes together just right for you, and you're unique, and whatever works for you, I pray that it comes together and that you can know yourself beyond your mind, beyond your personality, beyond everything. But also then, with that knowledge of who you are, come back into your personality and do the best you can with it. And sometimes there's a massive change in the personality after the stillness is infused, and other times maybe there's still a struggle, but that's okay. You can get skill in being you. And even if things stay the same and you still have those tendencies, just knowing that you have those tendencies, and that's okay, and not shaming yourself or shaming other people with those tendencies, knowing that you've at least had the bravery to look and see, is the universe is celebrating. Well done. You saw the unseeable. You saw and you were curious, and well done. Because this sometimes isn't easy for people at all. But it's also really interesting if you have a curious side. So I hope this channel sparks curiosity and healing, and I send you endless love. Take care.